We are live now.
Mm.
We're going to, as usual, give everybody a few seconds to join. There's Cliff and Joseph and Margaret. Thank you guys for joining. Thank you. Thank you. It's kind of a fun thing to do on a Wednesday early evening. Cliff says, happy birthday. Thank you, Cliff. Thank you. I'm 63. That means I think I'm officially old. Is that officially old? I don't know what's officially old anymore. I still feel pretty young. Um, we're going to chit chat while we get going here. I know Cliff is viewing from San Antonio. Joseph, where are you from? Where are you viewing from? And Margaret, if I've asked you guys this before, sorry. I sometimes don't remember like little details like that. We have tonight's moderator is Luke Peterson, who is my son. And he's my second son, my younger son. And so he's going to be fielding Q&A towards the end. But as usual, if you guys have anything that pops up while I'm talking during the podcast, you guys know this is a really pretty casual kind of way that we do things here. So Luke will interrupt if he feels the need to, if anybody's got a question or a comment or anything like that. Oh, there's Florence joined. Hey, Florence. Thanks for joining. Okay, so before we get going here, it is my birthday, and it's my 63rd birthday, so I've got some Prosecco here. I don't drink a whole lot these days. I was not a huge drinker before, but I'm really not now going through cancer treatment. It just kind of doesn't set very well with me, but there are some things that I can handle. And there's Julie Bonner. Hey, Julie. So I can do Prosecco. For some reason, that just settles in my stomach really well. And I can do a few other things. But anyway, I just thought it'd be kind of fun to have a little cheers for my birthday. It's been a really low-key day. We haven't done anything. Brett's going to make me a nice dinner after the podcast is over. But that's great. Cliff, do you have something here too? We're going to do a little cheers here. That's tasty. Okay, so we're going to get going here. I think we've got enough people, excuse me, to get going. Cliff, it looks like you're drinking, is that red wine? That sounds delish. Okay, so I'm aware that I usually start my podcast episodes out by saying, I've been thinking a lot lately about, but it's actually true because I've got a running list of topics that I want to cover at some point in the podcast. But my process is every week I don't plan like 5 episodes out, and that's by design. So what I like to do is I look at my list and I see what is kind of resonating with me that week and what's kind of floating up to the surface. And that's what I want to talk about, because if something is really, really resonating with me, then I can get really passionate about it and I really get into it. So all the topics I want to talk about of course, are interesting to me, but I want it to be something that like I'm really into in that moment. So that is this one tonight. So we're going to start out by saying lately I've been thinking about, which is true, but how easy it is to look around to everybody else around you, whether you know them or not, and kind of feel like everybody else has it all together and you don't. I think that's just kind of a normal human thing that we all do. I know I do it. I do it with people online that I don't even know, which is ridiculous. I'm just going to say I do it with people I do know in real life. And sometimes what we do is we look at them and we think, oh, they've got it all together. They have so much more energy. They speak with more clarity. They just seem more focused. They show up more consistently than I do, especially online, things like that. And then meanwhile, I'm just hanging out over here going, sucking my thumb and going, why can't I be more like those people? Why can't I show up like that? Why can't I feel energetic like that? And I think it's especially true for those of us who are going through kind of challenging medical circumstances, because our we'll just be honest, sometimes, what we're dealing with physically, emotionally, mentally is really, really hard. So it gets easy to compare yourself to other people and go, why can't I just be like that? Why can't I do that? And so what I think we're not seeing sometimes when we do that, or we're not making ourselves very aware, is that there's a lot of things that go on behind the scenes with all of us who are going through challenges like this. There's all these quiet, silent things that happen behind the scenes that make it possible for us to show up the way we do. And that's really kind of the crux of what I wanted to talk about tonight. It's all of the things that nobody else sees. And so today that's what I want to talk about. And I want to be kind of peel back the curtain a little bit more and be, I was going to say more honest, but that sounds like in other episodes I'm not honest or I'm dishonest. But as you guys all know, there's layers of honesty and transparency. And it's not always appropriate to, you know, let everything all hang out. Nobody gets to know everything about you or about me or about Luke or anybody else. So I'm always honest in my writing and I'm honest on this podcast, but I want to peel back a few more layers tonight because I really want you all, anybody that's actually dealing with anything um that takes a lot of quiet effort. It doesn't have to be a medical or physical issues. It's anything that requires a lot of quiet effort that nobody else really sees. That's what we're talking about tonight. And so I want to kind of let you in on what it takes for me to do some of the things that I do that you see me doing, because the last thing I want you guys doing is comparing yourself to me. We don't want that at all. So there are, in order for me to do the things that are important to me, and we'll talk about what those things are in a minute, I sometimes have to reschedule activities. I have to rest a little bit more. I have to change my day around. I have to adjust my expectations. I need to rest a little bit more. Did I already say that? Um, I have to just kind of adjust my mental outlook sometimes. And sometimes I just have to say a flat out, no, I can't do that because I need to do this later, or I need to do this tomorrow. So that means I can't do something today. That's how I have to operate these days. And it might be that way for a while. It might be that way for forever. I don't know. I just know it's that way right now. So I think there's a gap between what you see and what the reality is behind the scenes. And in that gap is where we do a lot of comparing. And when we compare ourselves to somebody else, let's be honest, we're always going to come up short. I don't know about you, but that's how I operate. That's how I think. When I compare myself to other people, I'm always coming up short. And so I just wanted to talk about that honestly, and about that that sense of, or that intense need that we have sometimes to compare. And um, it's kind of about what we don't see, what's going on in other people's lives, and what it might look like to just kind of approach ourselves within that space a little bit more gently and a little bit more quietly. So um, I think this is going to be, it's going to be a little bit of a more low key kind of episode, but I think it's going to be a really important one. Um, okay, so let's just kind of get into it here. So, I want to first say that comparison is very normal. It's just kind of the human experience. I think we all just tend to do that naturally. So I don't ever want you to think because you are comparing yourself to somebody else that you're weak for doing that, you're wrong for doing that. It just get those words. I would like for everybody to just get those words out of their vocabulary. Weak, wrong, incorrect, correct, whatever. It doesn't matter. Because when you're comparing, it's really setting up a false narrative anyway. It's usually you're not comparing apples to apples. Um, it's usually apples to oranges, and that's where things kind of go awry a little bit. So we're going to talk about that here. So what happens when you compare? You're thinking things like everyone else is handling life better than me. Like, you don't have to actually raise your hand right now or put anything in the comments. If you want to, go ahead. But like, seriously, if you do that, you can comment, yes, I do that, or absolutely, Kelly says weak, raw, incorrect, correct. Yeah, those are the things, Kelly. Those are the things we tell ourselves. Um, and you might ask, why is this so much harder for me than it is for other people? I do that when sometimes I see people that, when they write on Substack and I think, man, they seem to have it a lot more together than I do. I'm on my third nap for today. So, I do that as well. And the reason why I wanted to talk about this tonight is because recently on Substack I've had and it's happened kind of sprinkled here and there in my Substack writings where people will comment something like, "Oh, Jenny, you're so strong. Like you're going through X, Y, and Z, and you have so much on your plate, and you're so strong, and you're so brave, and you have it together that you're doing all this writing, and you do your podcast and all that." Well, that's not the vibe I want to impart to you guys. I don't want anybody out there that's reading my writing or listening to me and joining me here on this podcast. I don't want your takeaway to be like, I want to be more like Jenny. That's on the surface, that sounds complimentary. And my ego can kind of lap that up. But really, that's not the vibe I want to impart because that is that direct comparison and what I have going on in my life might not be the same as what you have going on in yours. And so that comparison is really, first of all, it's not fair to you because who wants to come up shorthanded in a comparison and feel like they're less than? Not me. And it's not fair to the person that you're comparing yourself to. Let's think about that because when you're comparing yourself unfavorably to another person, you're setting that person a little bit higher up on a pedestal where nobody really belongs. Let's be honest. Nobody belongs up there. I don't belong up there. I'm just like this schmuck going along doing my thing and trying to the best that I'm able to with what I have going on in my life. I'm just trying to create a life that I feel happy about, that I can feel proud about, that gives me some sense of satisfaction and you're doing the same. So don't compare yourself to me at all. Please don't compare yourself to me. So I want to be really, really clear about that. Um, I'm I do the things that I do, and I take other things off my plate so I can do the things that are the most important to me. So when you let me back up. I also think that social media and even podcasts can really reinforce this sense of comparison and negative comparison because what's happening, you guys, and we all know this, when people are posting a picture or they're doing a video, they're definitely presenting their best self, their best self to the world, right? And here you are like sniffing, with tissues on the couch and with no makeup on and your hair all crazy and going, yeah, I wish that could be me. That's never going to be me. And, to be honest, that person that's doing the video and or posting the pictures, that's probably not them either most of the other times of the day. Their life and their house and their health isn't all that together like they want to pretend that it is. So I never want to pretend anything with you guys. 'Cause that's the strength, I think, of writing about what I write about and showing up here on this podcast. The strength is we're meeting each other where we are. Nobody's doing anything better than anybody else because the shit that we're going through, you guys, is hard. It's hard. And I want us to acknowledge that number one, because when you acknowledge it, then you can give yourself some props and you can give yourself the kind of reinforcement and support that you need. And you can't do that if you're constantly comparing yourself to somebody else. Okay. So here's what I had to do. Here's where we're pulling the curtain back a little bit. Here's what I had to do in order to show up tonight at 6:30. I have, obviously I put makeup on. I try to, I brush my hair. There's not a lot I can do with my hair these days, you guys. It's thinned out like about 50% from chemotherapy. So I just pull it back every day. I had to take a good long nap this afternoon. When I woke up with a headache. I've had a lot of headaches lately, so had to take something for that and still remain really quiet just so I could get rid of that headache. I don't schedule anything for podcast days and not anything of importance. I get all of my necessary work done for my day job ahead of time, either first thing this morning or yesterday, because the way my life is, you guys, with my treatment, anything can pop up in a day. I can wake up feeling sick. And if I have stacked my day really heavily with a lot of activities and things that I have to do, like must have things, I'm screwed, you guys. Like I wouldn't be able to do this podcast episode tonight. And this podcast is really, really important to me. It's one of my higher values and priorities. So I mix things up in my life in order for me to show up and be as clear as I can be, to be calm and grounded, and to have these conversations with you guys. I'm not running around living my best life and then just like easy breezy showing up on camera. I can't do that. And I'm just going to be honest about that, because if there's somebody out there who's looking at me, at this on this podcast and going, yeah, but she's going through stage 4 cancer treatment and she started a podcast. Well, I'd be honest with you. I started this podcast, I don't know, this is my seventh episode, so 7 weeks ago. And I was just starting out with a long run of nasty treatment side effects that just don't seem to be alleviating. I don't know what's going on. There's nothing, it's not anything that's going to kill me. It's not anything that I can't manage, but it just sucks. Like I usually just feel like I have the flu. And before this long stretch, I would only feel like that for a few days and it would clear up. Then I'd feel okay-ish for a while and then it would hit again. Just seems like this long stream. Had I known I was going to feel like this when I launched the podcast 7 weeks ago, would I have launched it? I don't know, maybe not. I hope I would have, because sometimes you just have to dive in and get things done when they're really, really important to you. You know what I mean? So it's not about adding more things in to my schedule and my day. In order for me to do this, I have to take things out. And that's important to me that you guys know that that is my process, because I don't want any of you comparing yourself to me like Jenny's doing a podcast when she's feeling sick. Why can't I do something like that? Okay? Let's take that off the plate. I can only do it because I've taken other things off my plate. So those are the things that I've had to do just to manage, my world and my circumstances. There's so many things that I have to do behind the scenes in order to make this moment possible, just like you have to do that as well. So all the things that we have to do when we're going through things like this, it's not, and this is what I call like that silent load that we all kind of bear when we're handling these kinds of things. Um, it's managing your appointments, showing up for that, your PT, taking, staying on top of all your medications, treating your side effects, um, going to your actual treatments, talking on the phone, answering the surveys from my care teams. I've got 2 of them I have to do a week. Um, and then working full time on top of that, managing my relationships. I've got dogs, taking care of them. And then the highest priority that I have in my life, the highest number one priority in my life, if you could guess, is my health and wellness. That is my highest priority. So I have to manage all those things just like you do when you've got, health challenges going on. And from the outside, most of that is invisible. Most of it is invisible, and I would guarantee that I would bet my last dollar that you guys are dealing with things that are invisible as well. I know for sure that there's I know somebody who's dealing with long COVID. Most people don't see that from the outside. You don't know just by looking at somebody that they're dealing with long COVID, but that's a really hard thing to deal with. I know somebody else who's dealing with some really big flare-ups from endometriosis that causes a lot of pain. You don't necessarily see those things from the outside. You don't see, some of the digestive issues that I have from my medication. Those are all silent, they're invisible. And so when we do those comparisons with ourselves to somebody else, what you're doing is taking all the invisible things that you have to do and you're comparing it to somebody's resourced moment. Like, for example, I'm pretty resourced right now. What do I mean by that? I've rested, I've eaten, I got for me, a decent night's sleep last night. I lay low today so that I could show up here tonight. So that I have most of my resources available to me tonight. If I didn't do those things, I would not be very resourced. And so when you're comparing your behind the scenes struggle to my resourced moment right now, very unfair to yourself. Very, very unfair to, to you. And so I hate to see that happen. So, what I would like to suggest to us is to take out that comparison and in its place put in context. Now, what do I mean by that? That means if we're not going to compare, so remember there's that gap between what you see and what you see the other person doing. Like, let's just say you see me doing this podcast and showing up looks like I've got it all together. And then what I've told you behind the scenes, what it takes for me to do this. Instead of in that gap, instead of comparing and saying, why can't I be more like that? And I feel so weak and I feel helpless and I feel like I'm just not handling things the best way that I should be able to. And I don't like that word either. Should just get thrown out the window. What I'd like to see put in its place is context. And by context, I mean, ask yourself, am I doing the best I can for myself right now with what my circumstances are? Am I showing up for myself? Am is the pace that I've created for myself right now, is that the pace that I need in order to heal and recover and recuperate and live my life? Those that's providing context for your set of circumstances, has nothing to do with anybody else, and it shouldn't have anything to do with anybody else, because your set of circumstances, your health and wellness and what you're going through in your life is very individual to you. It's very particular to you, and it should not be compared to somebody else. We're all trying our best, right? We're all just trying to get through this, through life, not just get through it, like slog through it. Like, who wants to slog through life? Who wants to slog through life? I don't want to slog through life. I don't want to just like say, okay, this is just as good as it gets. And it's not great. I mean, of course, we have days like that, but I want to live my life in a way that I feel the best I'm able to with what I have going on, with my diagnosis, with the side effects that I have. And the way I'm able to do that is to take care of myself, just how you take care of yourself. So provide that context for yourself to say, is the pace that I have right now, or the things that I'm doing for myself right now, is that what I should be doing for myself? Maybe this is exactly where I need to be, taking this nap and having that slower pace. And as we kind of like get to the end of this episode, I I want to be really clear that you guys don't need my permission for anything, and you don't need anybody else's permission for anything. What I'd like for you to do is to give permission to yourself to slow down a little bit when you're handling a lot. Slow down, rest, do a little bit less, show up a little bit differently. It's okay if it's different from how you used to show up. I definitely show up differently than I used to show up. And there are days when I feel kind of down about that. About a year ago, I felt really frustrated about that. And I just don't allow myself to do that anymore, because it was making me feel worse and worse. To compare pre-cancer Jenny to post-cancer Jenny, or vice versa, that's not going to work in my favor, as you can well imagine. So give yourself permission to do a little bit less, to honor where you are right now, to honor what your body needs, what your heart needs, what your mind needs, what your emotions need, what your spirit needs, what your soul needs. It might be different every day, but you take stock of that for yourself. Do that for you, and here's the thing, you guys, when you take out the comparison and you put in the context for you, you are giving yourself an acknowledgement about what your circumstances are and what your body and your mind and your heart needs in order to keep going, and in order to recover, to heal, and to feel and do your best. And if you don't acknowledge it, you can't change anything. If you don't acknowledge it, then you don't know what your body needs and your mind needs. If you don't acknowledge it, you're going to default to the comparison. And I would like us to not do that. I don't want to do that for me. So I'd like for you to be happy and content as much as you're able to in your circumstances. So I'd like for you to give yourself permission, just as I do. I gave myself permission, full permission today, to lay down for, I think I was laying down for 2.5 hours, no lie. And then I got up, had to take some extra strength Tylenol, drink some water, and just be additionally quiet. And then beyond that, I had to ask Brett, my husband, for help. I'm like, hey, I'm moving really slow. This was about an hour before the podcast. I said, hey, I'm moving really slow because it wasn't like I was feeling poorly this afternoon. I was just feeling really slow and sluggish. And so I said, I need your help, because the podcast starts in an hour and I need your help. Okay. And so these are the things that you can do for me. And he, of course, he popped right up and did all the things. It was just a few things, but that's what I mean. Acknowledge where you're at right now, whatever it is that you're going through. And that is the best way that you can help yourself. When you acknowledge what you need rather than comparing apples to oranges, your apples to somebody else's oranges, because that's really not kind to yourself. It's not loving to yourself. And that's a hard place that you're putting yourself in. Okay. So that's what I wanted to leave you guys with tonight. And Lucas, I'm finishing up here. If you can kind of go through and see if there's any questions or comments that anybody has, I'd love to have this conversation with anyone. And, like maybe a question is, what what kinds of barriers do you guys feel when you're trying to take care of yourself, but what leads you to compare yourself to others? What's that draw? And how do you experience that? Um, oh, Luke says, unfortunately, something happened and I got booted from the session. Well, cheers, Luke. Thanks for trying anyway. Okay, let me go through here. So now I'm just a casual viewer. That's okay, Luke. Don't even worry. Okay, if you guys would hang with me, I'm gonna scroll back through. Um, oh, Kelly, you were such an inspiration. Well, thank you, Kelly. Sometimes if you saw me on my down days, you go, girl, get yourself cleaned up here. I know you. I know how hard it is, but I'm so proud of you. Thank you, Kelly. And Kelly, you've been through a lot too. You've been through a lot too, and I am proud of you as well. There are a few people that I know in real life that have joined on this podcast episode this evening. And I know some of your stories, and I know how hard some of your lives are for you right now. Now, Kelly, I'm not speaking specifically about you, but you just kind of jarred that thought in my head. I know some of your stories, and I know how hard some of you struggle. And so I want you to know that I see that, I understand it, and I hear it. It's some of these places that we're in are really hard to be. Um, okay, let's see if there's anything else in here. Sorry, I'm having to scroll with my wonky eyesight. Okay, I think, oh, okay. So Kelly says, when you get to the end of your rope and you want to give up, how do you deal? I, I just have a drink. Okay. So Kelly, it's probably not helping you that I got Prosecco here. um, so when I get to the end of my rope, um, I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes I go in a quiet place and I have a good cry. Sometimes for me, that's really cathartic. Um, I used to feel that that was kind of weak, like I'm being such a baby. That's what I used to tell myself. You guys, quit being such a baby. Like just handle it. And But now, at being 63 years old, I understand my process a little bit more, and sometimes all that stuff just sort of wells up, and I can feel it in my body, like my hands are fists and my stomach is kinda turning a little bit, and sometimes you just need that release, right? So, sometimes, I'm not gonna lie, I just go and have a good cry. Have a good cry for 5, 10 minutes, and I'm talking full on sobbing, and then I'm like, "Okay, I got that out of my system, and I can kinda move on." Sometimes my body tells me to go for a quick walk, and that kinda helps to recalibrate, some things. We talked about that with the bilateral movement, was that last week or the week prior, um, on this podcast? And so, I think get really good at listening to your body and listening to your heart about what's going to help you in that moment, because it could be something really different and each time. But also, Kelly, to know that when you're really feeling stressed and you get to your rope's end and you know that your tendency is to want to grab a drink, um, you are obviously aware of that tendency. And so when you're aware of it, then you can plan ahead and make a different choice. Like when I know I really want to make a drink in order to soothe myself or to handle something, maybe there's something else I can do instead of that that will help me. Yeah, Kelly says, yeah, yeah, exactly. Kelly, I know it is brutal sometimes. It is brutal. Listening to your body, listening to your heart. It's absolutely right. And I think we just have lost sometimes I think we lose, that ability to have conversations with ourselves. I think we've kind of lost that skill of really being in tune with our bodies and our minds and our hearts, and I think it's because this is just my thoughts here, you guys. I think it's because our world is very noisy and it's very chaotic. And in order to get good at listening to your own self, you have to create some quiet, you guys. Peace and quiet. Have part of your day, even if it's just 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. I usually do it in like a 30-minute chunks where I'll do some meditation or I'll just go be quiet and read for a little bit. But when you create that quiet for yourself and that peace, then all sorts of things can kind of float up to the surface. You can notice more things about your body and your circumstances and how you're relating to yourself. It's not, forget about relating to other people or the world around you. That's also important. But learn how to relate to your own self. And when you do that, the comparison game isn't going to seem quite as enticing to you because you're gonna be a lot more, uh, interested in what's going on with you than with somebody else, and comparing yourself negatively to somebody else is just not gonna work. Um, yeah, Kelly says, "All good with the peace and quiet and serenity, with the financial pressure is." Oh, tell me about it. Financial pressure is, my, insurance premium doubled in January. My income didn't double, but my expenses, didn't not all of my expenses doubled, but my premium doubled. That was a little bit of an ouch. So, yeah, those are things. It's a little nerve-wracking. There are things that are hard to deal with. And, I wish I had a, quick fix for that one, but once I figure that one out, I'll let you all know what the quick financial fix is for everybody, right? That'd be nice. Anyway, if there aren't any more, do we have any more comments or questions from the peanut gallery? Um, Again, cheers. It's my 63rd birthday, and I can't imagine a better way of spending it with you good people. And I'm gonna have a nice dinner. I think Brett got steelhead trout. It's similar to salmon. I don't know how he's gonna fix it, but it's great. Shanna just joined. Oh my goodness. Okay. Sorry you joined right at the last minute, Shanna, but cheers. Cheers, everybody. Margaret says you look good for 63. Thank you. Thank you. I do try. I do put forth an effort sometimes. But thank you. I truly, truly appreciate you guys showing up, spending part of your Wednesday evening with me. This is a part of my week that I really look forward to because it's very connecting to me. Um, and it helps me to think through things in my life in order to talk about those things with you. So hope it's kind of mutually beneficial to both of us. And I'm going to do one last cheers here for my birthday. Thank you guys so much for joining Jenny's Dying to Live this week, and I will see you next Wednesday at 6:30 back here on Substack Live. Thanks for joining, everybody. Have a good rest of your week.